The road to K23 did not begin with a door. It began with a dream. After Wuhe Town, Lin Jin slept for less than 3 hours before the black wasteland pulled him under. He did not fall into ordinary darkness. He opened his eyes beneath a sky filled with broken stars, standing before the white bone palace of the Soul Blade Royal Court. This time, the palace was not silent. The gates were open. Inside, countless blade marks crossed the floor like old scars. Each mark carried a different pressure: rage, regret, loyalty, betrayal, and something even colder than hatred. Yu Baishuang sat on her white bone throne at the side of the hall. No longer smiling, the nameless soul envoy stood at the center. Facing the empty highest seat, Lin Jin understood without being told. This was not only his spirit wasteland. It was a memory of the royal court. 7 seats had once guarded the door beyond the world. 7 blade souls, each strong enough to become a disaster or a shield. Yet the court had fallen. The records outside called them dangerous. The review court called them uncontrollable. The Star Lord's apostle called them keys and cutters. None of those words explained the grief in this hall. Yu Baishuang looked toward Lin Jin. You wanted to know why the seats were sealed. The floor trembled. The dream changed. Lin Jin saw the royal court before its collapse. A black palace beneath a sky of silver cracks. Blade spirits stood in a circle. Some were human-shaped. Some were barely human at all. One seat burned with red prison fire. Another held a mirror that reflected names instead of faces. Another carried chains made of moon-white bone. At the center stood the nameless soul envoy. But he was not nameless then. Someone called him Jiyu Chengye. The name entered Lin Jin's mind like a blade being drawn from a sheath. The man in black turned slightly in the dream. His eyes were covered, but the whole court seemed to pause when he moved. Jiyu Chengye, gatekeeper of the Soul Blade Royal Court. First blade beneath the throne. The one who cut the court's own name out of history. Lin Jin woke with his hand on Cinderless. His breathing was uneven. The room around him was real. The temporary quarters assigned to Ash's 7th squad. The dim ceiling light. The sealed mission case on the table. But the name remained. Jiyu Chengye. In the spirit wasteland. The nameless soul envoy did not deny it. So that is your name, Lin Jin said. The man in black was quiet for a long time. It was. Why hide it? Because names are handles. In the age of the Star Lord, anything with a handle can be pulled. Yu Baishuang laughed softly from her throne. But there was no mockery in it. He is being modest. He did not merely hide his name. He cut it from every oath, every record, and every memory that could be used to command him. Lin Jin looked at her. And the 7 seats? Yu Baishuang's smile faded. We sinned. That answer was too simple. No one who sat on a throne of bones and smiled at judgment halls would use the word sin lightly. Before Lin Jin could ask more, the alarm rang. Ji Yuxing had restored another fragment from Wuhe Town's riverbed data. It was not a coordinate. It was a dream key. A spiritual resonance pattern that pointed toward a memory layer tied to K23. Zhang Zhaoyue gathered the squad in the tactical room. We have 2 choices, she said. Approach K23 physically through the 11th safe zone border. Or enter the resonance first and find out what is waiting. Qin Yu crossed his arms. You mean walk into a dream trap before walking into the real trap? Yes. Great. Efficient. Shen Qing looked at Lin Jin. Can you hold the dream stable? Lin Jin answered honestly. Not alone. Yu Baishuang's voice entered his mind. But the court can. That night, Lin Jin entered the resonance with Shen Qing, Qin Yu, and Ji Yuxing connected through stabilizing arrays. Zhang Zhaoyue stayed outside to supervise their bodies. Xiaoman's projection was strictly forbidden from touching the ritual, though she argued for 10 full minutes before finally giving in. The dream opened like a battlefield. They stood in a city that had never appeared on any human map. Black towers leaned beneath a torn sky. White chains fell from the clouds and pierced the ground. Far away, a door larger than mountains stood half open, and beyond it moved a shadow too vast for the mind to hold. Ji Yuxingyi's voice shook. This is not simulation quality. This is memory. Qin Yu looked at the sky. Whose memory? Lin Jin saw a man standing on a broken wall. Ji Yuchengye, the nameless soul envoy, before he became nameless. Beside him stood another man with a familiar back. Lin Junyue, Lin Jin's father. The dream did not wait for him to be ready. The Star-Lord's shadow pressed against the door. Human armies burned beneath the sky. Summoners collapsed as their fate realms were invaded. The white prison system activated behind them. Not as salvation, but as emergency containment. It sealed infected sectors, sealed names, sealed entire memories so the Star-Lord could not use them. And in the middle of that disaster, the Soul Blade Royal Court made a choice. They would not only fight the monsters, they would cut the rules that allowed the door to own the living. That was the crime, not betrayal, disobedience. The Royal Court refused to let the locks decide who could be sacrificed. The dream shifted again. A young Yu Baishuang stood before a group of wounded civilians. White bone thorns rose around her. She was smiling, but tears ran down her face. To stop the Star-Lord from taking them, she cut their polluted Fate Realm contracts and severed the command chains binding them to the battlefield. The official record would later call it unauthorized mass severance. The survivors called it mercy. Another seat burned a prison camp with red fire to prevent the Star-Lord from harvesting the prisoners' names. The official record called it murder. The prisoners' souls called it release. Lin Jin watched each sin unfold and understood the shape of the lie. The 7 seats were not innocent, but neither were the records honest. Then the dream darkened. Ji Yuchengye turned toward Lin Junyue. If I cut my name, I can stay behind the door. Lin Junyue said. You will become a ghost, better a ghost than a leash. And the heir? Ji Yuchengye looked toward the palace behind them. If your child awakens the court, he must choose. No throne should open by blood alone. Lin Jin's hands tightened. His father had known. Not everything, perhaps, but enough. The Star-Lord's shadow roared. White chains crashed down. Lin Junyue raised 3 black locks from his own soul and drove them into the door. Each lock cost him something. Flesh, memory, name. Ji Yuchengye cut the 4th thing. History. The dream shattered. Lin Jin staggered awake in the tactical room, blood running from his nose. Shen Qing woke beside him, lightning flickering wildly around her shoulders. Qin Yu cursed and grabbed the edge of the table to steady himself. Ji Yuxingyi's monitor exploded into sparks. Zhang Jiaoyu's face was grim. Report. Lin Jin wiped the blood away. Ji Yuchengye was the nameless soul envoy. No one spoke. The 7 seats were sealed because they broke white prison commands during the First Door War. Some records call that treason. The memory says they saved people the system had already decided to abandon. Qin Yu's jaw tightened. So the court was punished for disobeying sacrifice orders. Partly. Shen Qing looked at him. There is more. Lin Jin nodded. My father helped seal the door. He left locks behind. Ji Yuxing managed to restore 1 surviving line from the broken monitor. The data had changed during the dream and produced a phrase from Lin Junyu's old file. 3rd sentence. Do not become king just because they need a door opened. The room went still. Lin Jin read the words again. His father had left him warnings in fragments. 1st, survive. 2nd, protect Xiaomin's choice. 3rd, do not let the world turn him into a throne. That night, Lin Jin returned to the spirit wasteland. Ji Changye stood beneath the black sky. You saw enough to become afraid, the man said. I saw enough to become angry. Anger is useful for one strike, not for a life. Lin Jin looked toward the white bone palace. Why did my father say not to become king? Ji Changye's blindfold stirred in the wind. Because every desperate age eventually searches for a person it can call necessary. Then it asks that person to stop being human. Yu Baishuang rested her chin on her hand. The royal court had a throne. The door had keys. White prison had locks. Humans had procedures. Everyone wanted a shape that made sacrifice easier to explain. Lin Jin understood. If he became the king they needed, every choice would be taken from him in the name of survival. Xiaoman would become a lockhole. Ji Changye would become a weapon. Yu Baishuang would become a disaster asset. His father would become a sealed precedent. His mother would become a file. Lin Jin looked at Cinderless. Then I won't be king. Ji Changye said. That will not stop them from trying to crown you. I know. What will you be? Then? Lin Jin thought of the hospital rain. The deliberation hall. K-17's burning walls. Wuhe town waking in grief. And the dream of a court punished for saving people the wrong way. He lifted the black blade. The person who opens the door only when the living choose it. Yu Baishuang smiled. This time, it was real. Far away in the wasteland. Beyond the palace. A white route unfolded. K-23 was waiting. And so was the first true entrance to White Prison. White Shuyuan came to the Ashes base without guards. That was the first sign he wanted a conversation instead of an arrest. The second sign was the file case in his hand. Zhang Zhaoyue still made him wait in an interrogation room with 3 monitoring arrays pointed at his heart, his fate realm, and his shadow. Qin Yu called that polite restraint. Song Weiyu called it a good start. When Lin Jin entered, White Shuyuan rose and offered a small nod. You look better than after the hearing. You look less surprised than after the hearing. I have had time to accept that the 9th safe zone is more interesting than the reports suggested. Lin Jin sat across from him. Say what you came to say. White Shuyuan placed the file case on the table. I want to make a trade. Zhang Zhaoyu's eyes narrowed from the observation side of the glass. White Shuyuan continued. The Central Review Court has factions. Someone you contained. Someone you transferred. Someone your sister classified as a lock-risk subject. I do not agree with all of them. Lin Jin gave a cold laugh. That is a careful sentence. I am a careful person. Careful people build a ritual under the deliberation hall. White Shuwan's expression did not change. And careful people can help you find who authorized it. Silence settled between them. The file case opened. Inside was a partial list of old White Prison researchers, review officials, and sealed transfer permissions connected to Su Wanning. Several names were blacked out. Several were marked dead. One was circled. Lin Jin recognized it. The same name had appeared in the K-17 fragment. Han Yisheng, former review court sealing engineer. Missing after the First Door War. Later classified as unstable. White Shuyuan tapped the name. He may be alive. Ji Yuxingyi's voice came through the room speaker. Alive where? Near the White Prison outer layer. Lin Jin looked at him. You want us to find him? I want you to talk to him before the faction that wants him erased reaches him first, Qin Yu muttered from behind the glass. How generous. White Shuyuan heard him and smiled faintly. You are free to dislike me. It may even be wise. But the question is not whether I am trustworthy. The question is whether the information is useful. Lin Jin looked at the file. Useful did not mean safe. In the spirit wasteland, Ji Changye said. He is offering a road with a hook in it. Yu Baishuang added. Most roads do. Lin Jin closed the file case. If Han Yisheng is alive, why was he called unstable? White Shuwan's smile faded. Because he refused an order. That answer carried too much history. The next day, Ash's 7th Squad moved toward the K-23 resonance zone under a temporary support order signed by both the 9th Safe Zone military and a restricted review court channel. No one liked that second signature. But it opened checkpoints that would otherwise have cost them days. Their target was a collapsed service district near the 11th Safe Zone border. A place officially marked as low population, low value, and low risk, which, by now, meant it was almost certainly dangerous. They found the first survivor at dusk. Not Han Yisheng. A woman in a torn researcher coat stumbled out from an abandoned drainage tunnel. Hands raised, face streaked with ash. Her spiritual pressure was chaotic, but not hostile. "Don't cut," she whispered when she saw Lin Jin's blade. Lin Jin did not lower Cinderless. But he did not advance. "Who are you?" Luoan, former assistant engineer, White Prison Peripheral Maintenance. Ji Yuxing scanned her and frowned. "Her records say she died 16 years ago." Luoan laughed once. A dry broken sound. "That is one of the easier things White Prison does." They brought her into a temporary shield tent. Zhang Zhaoyue questioned her while Ji Yuxing stabilized the interference around her body. Luoan answered like someone who had rehearsed the truth for years and forgotten how to expect belief. White Prison did not only hold criminals. It held failed keys. It held people exposed to door authority. It held researchers who knew too much. It held soldiers who obeyed orders and then became inconvenient reminders of what those orders cost. Some were dangerous. Some were victims, many were both. Qin Yu's expression grew darker with every sentence. "So when the files say unstable," Luoan looked at him. "Sometimes it means monster. Sometimes it means witness." Lin Jin thought of the 7 seats. Unstable, uncontrollable, dangerous. Words that could be true and still used as weapons. Luoan told them Han Yisheng had once tried to change the prisoner classification system. He argued that lock-infected subjects should be evaluated by remaining will, not by contamination level alone. He believed a person who could still choose should not be sealed as an object. The review court rejected the proposal. Han Yisheng leaked part of the data. Then he disappeared. "He is not sane anymore," Luoan said quietly. "But he is not gone." The K-23 resonance opened after midnight. It appeared as a white rectangle in the ruins. Not bright, not dramatic, almost administrative in its simplicity. A door without a handle. A prison entrance pretending to be a wall. Lin Jin stood before it. The door reacted to Cinderless. Then to something deeper in his blood. Then to the distant mark inside Xiaoman. Even though she was not present, the system knew the lockhole existed. A voice emerged from the white surface. "Unauthorized keybearer. Submit identity." Lin Jin answered. "No." The voice paused. Ji Yuxing looked up from his device. "I don't think it expected that." "Submit identity." Lin Jin lifted Cinderless. "Open a passage to Han Yisheng." Subject Han Yisheng. Classified unstable. Alive? Classified. Victim or threat? Classified. Lin Jin's eyes turned cold. That is not an answer. White light spread across the door. The system chose force. Chains erupted from the ruins. Not silver this time, but pale and translucent, each one covered in review clauses, old emergency laws, and sealing commands. They did not attack the body first, they reached for identity. Names on documents, ranks, permissions, medical classifications, criminal labels. The chains tried to define the squad before binding them. Song Weiyu hissed as one brushed her shadow. "It tried to mark me as auxiliary threat." Qin Yu punched a chain apart. "It marked me as brute force risk." He Shan glanced at his own tag. "Mine says collateral acceptable." I hate this door. Shen Qingyi's lightning flared. Then break the labels. Lin Jin saw the structure. The chains were not strong because they were sharp. They were strong because every command claimed legitimacy. Each one said, "This is procedure. This is classification. This is safety. This is necessary." Ji Yu Changye spoke inside his mind. "Do not cut the chain's body." "I know." Lin Jin stepped forward. "Cut the authority." Cinderless fell. The first command split open. Unauthorized became unnamed. The second strike broke subject classification. Unstable became unresolved. The third cut severed the emergency sacrifice clause. Collateral acceptable became living person. The door screamed without sound. White Prison did not like having its language changed. The passage opened. Inside was not a corridor. It was a stack of white rooms, each one floating above another, connected by stairways that folded in impossible directions. Some rooms held shadows. Some held sleeping bodies. Some held only names carved into the floor. At the center of the first layer sat Han Yisheng. He was thin, gray-haired, and bound to a chair made of white script. His eyes were open. Dozens of labels circled his body. Unstable, compromised, witness, traitor, engineer, human. The last label flickered, nearly erased. Lin Jin approached slowly. Han Yisheng looked at Cinderless and began to laugh. "So the blade came after all. Are you Han Yisheng?" "I was. I am. Depends which file you ask." Zhang Zhaoyue kept her weapon ready. "Did you build the lockhole ritual under the 9th deliberation hall?" Han Yisheng's laughter stopped. "No. Do you know who did?" "I know who copied my old design." Lin Jin's grip tightened. "Who?" Han Yisheng looked at him with sudden clarity. "The ones who decided your sister was more useful as a door than as a girl." Before he could say the name, the room's labels turned red. Execution protocol. The white script chair tightened around Han Yisheng's body. Lin Jin moved. Ji Yu Changyi's voice cut through his mind. "Careful. Some labels hold his mind together." Lin Jin froze for a fraction of a second. This was the cruelest part. White Prison had bound Han Yisheng for years. Some chains hurt him. Some chains prevented collapse. If Lin Jin cut everything, he might kill the man he was trying to save. Yu Baishuang said softly, "A blade that only knows freedom can still murder the wounded." Lin Jin lowered Cinderless. He did not cut all the chains. He cut one word: execution. The red protocol snapped. The remaining labels shuddered but held. Han Yisheng gasped, half laughing, half sobbing. "Good," he whispered. "Good. You are not just your father's son." The room shook. White Prison began pulling the layer away. Han Yisheng forced words through the pain. The ritual was activated through Central Review hidden authority. Not Shuwan's faction. Older. Cleaner. Look for the White Seal Committee. Ji Yuxing recorded everything. Han Yisheng's eyes locked on Lin Jin. "And listen carefully. Do not bring the lockhole into White Prison unless she chooses with full knowledge. Consent without truth is just another chain." The room collapsed. Ash's 7th squad barely escaped the first layer before the white passage sealed behind them. Outside, dawn had touched the ruins. White Shuyuan was waiting at the perimeter. Zhang Zhaoyue nearly drew on him. Lin Jin walked past her and threw the file case at White Shuwan's feet. White Seal Committee. For the first time, White Shuyuan lost all color in his face. That was enough answer. By noon, the Central Review Court issued a restricted notice. Lin Jin, unknown fate realm bearer, suspected of unauthorized contact with unstable White Prison subjects. Recommended status. Monitored pursuit. By evening, it changed. Central warrant pending. Qin Yu read the notice and laughed without humor. "So we saved their witness. And now we're the criminals." Song Weiyu stretched. Progress. Zhang Zhaoyue looked at Lin Jin. Chen Beixuan can delay this, but not erase it. Lin Jin nodded. He had expected chains. He had not expected them to arrive so quickly. At night, Xiaomin called through a secured channel. Brother, I heard. You should be resting. You always say that when you don't want to answer. Lin Jin was quiet. Xiaomin looked smaller on the screen, wrapped in a hospital blanket. But her eyes were steady. If White Prison needs my choice, then I need to know the truth. I know. Don't decide for me. Those words hurt more than accusation would have. Lin Jin looked at her. I won't. Outside the base, Ash's soldiers were already preparing for possible lockdown. Inside the spirit wasteland, Ji Yu Changye stood before the palace gates. The warrant will come. Yu Baishuang smiled faintly. Finally, humanity remembers how to be predictable. Lin Jin looked toward the far white route. The first layer of White Prison had opened. The next entrance would not be granted by a door. It would have to be taken from the system that now wanted him hunted. Lin Jin lifted Cinderless. Then we don't retreat, Ji Yu Changye said. That is not a plan. Number. Lin Jin's eyes were cold. It is a choice. Quote. The warrant became official at dawn. Central Review Court Restricted Order. Lin Jin. Unknown Fate Realm Bearer. Suspected of illegal contact with sealed White Prison subjects. Unauthorized severance of review authority chains. And concealment of lockhole-related information. Recommended action. Containment and transfer. The words were clean. That made them worse. They did not say he had saved Han Yisheng from execution. They did not say White Prison had tried to erase a witness. They did not say the Hidden White Seal Committee had built a ritual that reached for Lin Xiaomin through a hospital projection. They said containment. They said transfer. Procedure had sharpened its teeth. Chen Beixuan's answer came 10 minutes later. The 9th safe zone refused immediate transfer. Reason. Lin Jin was an active member of Ash's 7th Squad under Post-Star Tide Defense Authority. That bought them time. Not much. Zhang Zhaoyue gathered the squad in the underground tactical room. The door was sealed. Communications were routed through military channels Chen Beixuan personally controlled. Even so, Ji Yuxing kept 3 interference screens running. The review court will not wait, Zhang said. They will pressure the council, the medical bureau, and the military supply chain. If they cannot take Lin Jin legally today, they will try to make keeping him too expensive tomorrow. Qin Yu slammed a fist into his palm. Then we hit first, at what? He stopped. That was the problem. The enemy was not one monster in a basement. It was a committee hidden behind old authority. A prison system that moved. And a court that could make chains look like documents. Ji Yuxing pushed a recovered map onto the screen. Han Yisheng's data gave us the White Prison first layer access pattern. Not a stable coordinate, but a behavior. The entrance appears when 3 conditions overlap. A door resonance point, a severance authority strong enough to interrupt classification, and a living lockhole's consent. Everyone turned to Lin Jin. He did not speak. Zhang Zhaoyue said what he would not, meaning Xiaomin. The room became very quiet. Lin Jin's expression did not change, but the air around him sharpened. No one drags her into this. Shen Qing answered gently. No one here wants that. Song Weiyu leaned against the wall. But she will ask, as if summoned by those words. The secure channel lit. Lin Xiaomin appeared on the screen from her hospital room. She was sitting upright, pale but composed. A medical bureau monitor blinked behind her. I am already listening, she said. Qin Yu muttered. Of course she is. Lin Jin looked at her. Xiaomin. Brother. Don't use that tone. This is not safe. Nothing about me has been safe since before I knew the word lockhole. Her voice trembled once, then steadied. Han Yisheng said consent without truth is another chain. Then give me truth. No one spoke. Lin Jin wanted to refuse. Every instinct in him wanted to stand between Xiaomin and White Prison until the world broke its teeth on him. But protection could become another kind of prison if it erased the person being protected. He remembered his father's third sentence. Do not become king just because they need a door opened. He remembered Han Yisheng. Consent without truth is just another chain. Lin Jin closed his eyes. When he opened them, his voice was low. Then we tell her everything. They did. K17. Su Wanning's recording. Mother of the Key. The White Prison System. The First Door War. The Royal Court's Crime. Han Yisheng's warning. The living lockhole condition. Xiaomin listened without interrupting. The longer the explanation went on, the paler she became. But she did not look away. At the end, she asked only one question. If I help open it, can I choose to stop? Ji Yuxing answered after checking the data twice. If Lin Jin's severance authority remains active, yes, the system will try to pressure the lockhole. But Cinderless can cut coercive commands. Xiaomin looked at Lin Jin. Then I choose to help once. Xiaomin. Once, she repeated. With you there. With everyone watching. If I say stop, we stop. Lin Jin's throat tightened. Zhang Zhaoyue said. Then those are the mission rules. No one argued. The entrance chosen by Ji Yuxing was not a ruin this time, but an old underground transit platform beneath the 11th safe zone border. Officially, it had been sealed after contamination. In reality, the White Prison System had used it as a temporary docking point for years. Ash's 7th squad moved at night. Xiaomin's body remained in the hospital under guard. Only her spiritual projection was connected through a heavily shielded array built by Ji Yuxing and supervised by the medical bureau doctor who had once treated her as a patient and now watched her like a person stepping toward a cliff. Lin Jin stood at the center of the platform. Xiaomin's projection appeared beside him. Translucent but clear. She looked around at the broken tracks, the white dust on the walls, and the old warning signs half covered by sealing marks. So this is a door? A place where one can arrive. That's not comforting. Number. She smiled weakly. At least you're honest. The platform lights flickered. A white rectangle appeared at the far end. The system spoke. Lockhole detected. Lin Jin raised Cinderless. Living person detected, he said. The system paused. Yu Baishuang laughed in his mind. Petty. I approve. The door brightened. Transit request requires lockhole consent. Xiaomin took a breath. I consent to open a limited passage for one investigation. I do not consent to transfer. Containment, memory extraction, medical classification, or ownership. Ji Yuxing whispered. That was very specific. Song Weiyu smiled. Good girl. The system resisted. White chains rose from the platform, forming clauses in the air. Consent insufficient. Subject under medical uncertainty. Lockhole status overrides minor refusal. Lin Jin cut before the sentence finished. The clauses split apart. Try again, he said. The door opened. White Prison's first true entrance unfolded before them. It was not a hallway, but a vessel. A long white interior stretched into darkness, like the inside of a ship built from hospital walls, prison doors, and courtroom language. Rooms passed by on both sides as if the vessel were moving through unseen water. Some rooms were empty. Some held sleeping silhouettes. Some held only floating names. Ji Yuxing's voice came through the comms. This is the White Prison vessel. It moves between resonance points, not fixed space. Zhou Zan lifted his shield. Then we should not stay long. Agreed. Their target was the first archive layer, Su Wanning's room. The vessel did not give it easily. At every crossing, the system tried to redirect Xiaomin's projection toward a different corridor. Each time, Cinderless cut the pressure. Each time, Xiaomin said aloud. I do not consent. The words mattered. Not because the system respected them. Because Lin Jin's blade could use them as truth. They found the room behind a door marked with no number. Inside was a white bed, a metal desk, a broken recorder, and walls covered with handwritten formulas. Not carved this time. Written, rewritten, corrected. Some in technical notation, some in ordinary words. Xiaomin stepped inside slowly. On the desk was a small memory crystal. It activated when her projection came near. Su Wanning appeared, not as a damaged recording this time, but as a clear image. Tired, older than the file photo, but alive in the way memory can be alive. If this message opens, then one of my children has reached the vessel. Xiaomin covered her mouth. Lin Jin could not move. Su Wanning continued. I am sorry. Those 3 words broke something quiet in the room. I did not leave because I stopped loving you. I left because the White Seal Committee discovered Xiaomin's lockhole resonance before she was born. They wanted to bind her before she could choose. Your father and I refused. The image flickered. Junyue sealed part of the door with his own locks. I entered White Prison to change the rules from inside. I failed to destroy it. But I changed one thing. Her eyes lifted, as if she could see them across time. A lockhole can refuse. Xiaomin began to cry silently. That right is hidden in the vessel's root layer. They erased it from every public protocol. If you reached this room, the right still exists. The door outside shook. White Prison had noticed the message. Su Wanning spoke faster. Listen carefully. The White Seal Committee is not trying to open the door fully. Not yet. They are trying to control who has permission to survive the next opening. That is why they fear the Soul Blade Royal Court. A blade that can cut classification destroys their power to choose who counts as human. Lin Jin's hand tightened around Cinderless. And Lin Jin. His breath stopped. The image looked toward him. Your father left 3 locks. You have seen 2 shadows and 1 sentence. The 3rd lock is not on the door. It is on himself. If you find him, do not cut it unless he asks you to. The message broke into static. Then, one last line appeared. Truth removed from official record. White Prison was never built to protect humanity alone. It was built to decide which parts of humanity could be abandoned. The archive room exploded into white alarms. Classification breach. Memory breach. Lockhole refusal protocol detected. Erase. The vessel turned hostile. Doors opened along the corridor. White prison wardens emerged. Faceless figures made of script and bone. Chains spread across the floor. Not attacking Lin Jin first, but reaching for Xiaomin's projection. Lin Jin stepped in front of her. Stop the connection if it hurts. Xiaomin wiped her tears. Not yet. Shen Qingyi's lightning filled the corridor. Qin Yu drove into the first warden like a crashing tide. Zhou Zan held the rear. He Shan braced a collapsing door. Song Weiyu used the shadows beneath floating names to pull the squad forward. Ji Yuxing guided them through the shifting map, shouting corrections as the vessel rewrote itself. Lin Jin cut only what needed cutting. Coercion, transfer, erase, ownership. Every word split under Cinderless became a path. But the vessel was learning. At the final door, it stopped attacking Xiaomin and instead projected Su Wanning's image again. This time, the image reached out a hand. Xiaomin, stay. I can explain everything. Xiaomin froze. Lin Jin saw the line. False. Not a full lie. Worse. A stolen recording wrapped around a command. He lifted Cinderless. Xiaomin grabbed his sleeve. Wait. For one terrifying second, Lin Jin thought she would step forward. Instead, Xiaomin looked at the image of her mother and whispered, "If you are real, you would let me leave." The image smiled with Su Wanning's face. Of course. But the command line tightened. Xiaomin closed her eyes. I do not consent. Lin Jin cut. The false mother split apart into white ash. The exit opened. They fell back onto the underground platform as the door slammed shut behind them. Xiaomin's projection flickered violently. Lin Jin caught her even though she had no real weight. At the hospital, the medical team stabilized her body. Her vital signs trembled, then steadied. She was safe. For now. In the ash's base, Ji Yuxing decrypted the memory crystal's final hidden layer. Most of it was damaged, but one deleted file restored enough to show what had been removed from history. The White Seal Committee had erased the refusal protocol. They had erased Su Wanning's role in creating it. They had erased evidence that thousands sealed inside White Prison were not monsters, but people classified as acceptable losses. And they had erased one more record. Lin Junyue was not imprisoned by White Prison. He entered the door border voluntarily after the First War, carrying the third lock in his own soul. Qin Yu stared at the screen. So your father may still be alive. Lin Jin did not answer. In the spirit wasteland, Ji Yu Changye stood very still. Yu Baishuang's smile vanished. Far beyond the White Bone Palace, a new route opened. Darker than the last, Lin Jin heard his father's voice from the dream. Not as memory now, but as a distant echo. Do not cut the third lock unless I ask you to. The next stage was no longer only about White Prison. It was about the border beyond the door, and the father who had been waiting there with a lock inside his soul.